Okay, shalom, shalom. Sorry for the wait. We want to first thank Rabbi Krohn for coming again last year to our Elevate Your Elul series, our second, now it's an annual series. We weren't sure how last year was going to be, so I didn't call it annual, but Bezrat Hashem is going to be an annual series that we hope that we can bring in the Rav each year. Last year, Baruch Hashem was a big success, so we wanted to kick it off strong just as much and have the Rav again come. So Bezrat Hashem, just because I know at the end it's going to be a little busy, I just want to say this is a 4-part series. Of course, we have the Rav tonight. Next week we have Rabbi Avram Shor on August 27th. The same, everything's going to be at 8 p.m. Then on September 7th we have Joey Haber, and then September 10th we're going to have Rabbi Mansour. It's all on the flyers. I want to just thank the sponsors, and of course that if anyone wants to contribute, there's a chuyot to contribute to such a great event, and especially in Elul, that will be to give its orut to the people who are here, as well as the people online who are watching, and in the future, it's a big zchut. I don't have to tell you, but just thank you quickly to the Nisana family who sponsored the zchut Refuah Shalema, to Yitzchak ben Riva, to Daniel Zar, Refuah Shalema Benyamin Yaakov ben Ariel, to my parents. The zchut, the Kal Kadosh, and Hatzlacha for the family, and to keep everything going, and as well anonymously the Nishmat Malka Margarita Batonia, and just again, of course, this whole event and is in conjunction with our Beit Midrash program here, named after my grandfather. That we have shiurim nightly, and we have chavrutot available. Anyone here and anyone watching, whoever wants to come to Sha'arei Emunah, 539 Oakland in Cedarhurst, we have chavrutot available and chaburot, as well as for women we have monthly shiurim, and hopefully we're going to keep adding. Of course, this is I don't do any events without being in conjunction with Chazaq, and I want to thank Rabbi. Rabbi is just going to speak for Daka. Try to speak Hebrew in the shul, to just talk about Chazaq for 1 minute, and then I'll introduce the Rav. Thank you everyone for coming.
Let's give Morty a round of applause. Amazing Morty. About dedication, I feel like he has like 2 full-time jobs. The obviously his regular job, as well as he lives and breathes the shul, the kollel, always trying to spread Torah and the avodah and tefillah. Of course, we want to thank Morty. We want to thank, of course, Sha'arei Emunah, the tremendous force in the community, for all the tremendous work they did for the community. Of course, as Morty said, that we have the great honor to hear from Rabbi Paysach Krohn tonight, and he's going to help elevate our Elul, as well as we want to encourage everyone to, as the flyers out right outside, don't only join us tonight, but join us next Sunday for Rabbi Shor, then the following Thursday for Rabbi Joey Haber, and the following Sunday Rabbi Eli Mansour. And don't only come yourself, please share this, take a picture of the flyer, send it out, encourage other people to come as well. Definitely be a big merit for you and your family. And one way to, as Morty was mentioning, I'm here on behalf of the Chazaq organization, and we have to, of course, elevate our own Elul, but if we're going to go into Rosh Hashanah and Elul, and we're only going to elevate our own Elul and our own Rosh Hashanah, our own lives, our own family lives, but we also have to think about our fellow brothers and sisters who are in the public school system. They don't merit maybe to come to share tonight from a world-renowned speaker like Rabbi Krohn. So there's tens of thousands of public school students, and Chazaq is on the forefront with after-school programs at 15 different locations, really guiding the public school students so they can get a Jewish education. We have a special division called Public School Yeshiva Division, and since 2017 we've transferred over 1,400 children from public school to yeshiva, and of course have many more, much more work to do. So of course everyone knows someone who has a child who has children in public school, maybe it's a relative, a coworker, a neighbor. They should definitely reach out to Chazaq. Of course, right now, because right before the new school year, and make sure they give it a Jewish education, and of course, a man who needs no introduction, Rabbi Paysach Krohn, somebody who is Klal Yisrael Yid, someone who lives and breathes for Klal Yisrael day and night, always producing for Klal Yisrael, is the world-renowned Maggid and speaker, Rabbi Paysach Krohn. All please rise.
It's a great zchus to have been invited once again to come to this most beautiful place of Torah and Tefillah, not only Baruchnius, but Bagashmius. I thank Mori Aryeh and the officers of Shari Emunah for inviting me. I thank Rabbi Aboff, who works so hard for Chazaq. Hashem should bless him. This is the year that he should find the Shidduch. Be'ezrat Hashem. That's my first bracha of the night. We've come together, as Rabbi mentioned, we've come right after Rosh Chodesh Elul, and we want to elevate our Elul. How do we do that? So it's very, very interesting. We know that Chazal, the rabbis teach us that the word Elul stands for Ani L'Dodi V'Dodi Li. Ani L'Dodi, Rabbi Lapian explains it. As much as I am dedicated and devoted to my friend Hashem, Dodi Li Hashem, my friend will be devoted and dedicated to me. But the Baba of Rebbe had a very unusual way of understanding the letters Elul. And he said like this, what it stands for is Echad La'ola Ve'echad L'chatas. Simply, Ola is a korban that we bring totally to Hashem, and Echad L'chatas is a korban that we bring when we have sinned. But he explained it differently. He said sometimes in Elul we look back at the previous year and we say, you know something, I really did learn a good deal. And I davened with a minyan very often. And I gave tzedakah, and I was nice to my spouse, and I was nice to my family. So we say to that person, that's wonderful. But don't rest on your laurels. Echad la'olah, you got to go up. Every year you got to go higher and higher and higher. So even if you had a good year and you did everything that's wonderful, Elul is here that you should elevate yourself. Echad la'olah. You're going to go higher. You're going to learn more. You're going to daven slower. You're going to give more tzedakah. You're going to be more involved in the community, more involved with your children. But then there are those people, like most of us, that look back and we say, you know, echad l'chatas, that really, last year maybe we didn't learn as much as we could have learned. And maybe we didn't daven as slow as we should have davened. And maybe we didn't give the amount of tzedakah that we should have done. And maybe we weren't so nice to everyone. So we look back at the year and we say, well, there was some chatas, there was some sinning to do that we did. So therefore, Elul is a time of elevation. So whether you are Olah or chatas, either way, Elul is a time for elevation and for growth. And the question is, how do we do it? How do we get the courage to do that? So I'll tell you something very interesting. Many of you know that I am a mohel. And Baruch Hashem, I've been doing it for many, many years. And in the Torah, it tells us something very, very interesting. Before Hashem said to Avraham Avinu that he should do the bris on himself, Hashem said, you know, your name is now going to be changed. V'lo yikarei oid shimcha Avram. Your name will no longer be Avram. But your name is now going to be Avraham. I'm going to add the letter Hey to your name. Okay, so Hashem gave him the letter Hey. Fine. But what was so surprising is that shortly afterwards, Hashem says, you know something, Abraham? Your wife Sarai, she's also going to get a name change. Now, God has 22 letters in the Jewish alphabet. If he gave the Hey to Abraham, he could have given another letter to Sarai, but he gave her the same letter. He said, Sarai ishtacha lo tikare eshemo Sarai, ki Sarah shemo. Her name is now going to be Sarai. He gave her the same letter. So now we got to figure this out. If Hashem gave the Hey to Abraham, as we said, he could have given a different letter to Sarah, but he didn't. He gave the letter Hey. Why? I'm going to show you something amazing. I'm going to show you the letter Hey. I want you to take a look at this. See, this is the letter that Abraham got, and this is the letter that Sarai got. Why? So the Gemara and the Midrash tell us two things. One thing is, the Gemara says that Hashem created the world like the letter Hey. So the Midrash explains, very interesting. Do you know that every letter in the Jewish alphabet, you need a different part of your mouth? For example, let's say you want to say the letter shin. You got to have teeth. You don't have teeth. You can't say the letter shin. And you can't say the letter mem if you don't have lips. And if you don't got a throat, you can't say ches. And the way the Sephardim say it, you need a double throat, right? I can't even say it that way. On ayin, whatever. So you need different parts of the structure of your mouth and your lips and your throat. There's only one letter. You don't need anything. Hey, just breathe it out. That's what it means, according to the Gemara, that Hashem created the world like the letter hey. It was so easy. Hey, just breathe it out. Didn't take any effort. You don't need any part of the mouth or the throat or the tongue or the teeth. That's what the Medrash says. But the Gemara tells us something different. And this is the thing that we have to remember in the month of Elul. And watch this. The Gemara tells us in Menachos, Chavtes Amud Beis, that the world was created like the letter Hey. You notice that there's no floor on the bottom of the letter Hey? You know what that means? That people could do averot, people could do sins, and they could fall. There's no end to how far people can fall when they sin. When they watch stuff they shouldn't watch, when they go places they shouldn't go, when they say things that they shouldn't say, when they eat things that they shouldn't eat, there's no end to how far a person could fall. But we all have to remember, this door is open for tshuva. That's what the letter Hey is. This is the letter of tshuva. Because no matter how far a person fell, you can come back. Never, ever give up on yourself. You can always come back. That's what the letter Hey is. And that's why Abraham, who was the father of all the Balei Tshuva, he got the whole world to do tshuva. And Sarai got all the women to do tshuva. That's why they both had to have the letter Hey. What were they going to do with a gimel or a shin or a mem? This is the letter of tshuva. Now, watch this. The Gemara tells us, and the Tur and the Shulchan Aruch tells us, what is the fifth? First of all, how much is Hey? Hey is 5, right? We all know that. What is the 5th bracha in Shemon Esrei? The 5th one is Hashivenu. Hashivenu Avinu L'Sarasecha. That's the bracha of tshuva, right? So again, Hey is number 5, and that's the bracha of tshuva, the 5th bracha. How does Hashivenu start? What letter does it begin with? Hey. What letter does it end with? Horotzeh b'tshuva. What letter does it end with? Hey. 5 and 5 is 10. That's the Aseres Yemei Tshuva. That's what Hashivenu is. Hashivenu, the bracha that we say every single day, is the bracha of Tshuva. It begins with a Hey, it ends with a Hey to show us it's never too late. Never, ever give up, because we can all come back. That little door is open for tshuva. Now, I want to tell you something that somebody once told me on my birthday, and it was so inspirational. And when I tell it to you, every single man, woman, and child can think about it for themselves, and you will see that it'll be inspirational for you as well. You know what the person told me on my birthday a number of years ago? And first of all, I have the greatest birthday in the world because the whole world celebrates it. It's Tu B'Shvat, on the 15th day of Shvat. So everybody's celebrating my birthday. But now on my birthday, some person called me up and said, you know something? The day you were born years ago, that was the day God decided that the world can no longer exist without you. Think about that. Every single one of you. The day that you were born, that was the day that Hashem decided the world can no longer exist without you. That means everybody here is important. Otherwise, Hashem would not have brought you into the world. Hashem brought each and every one of us into the world because He needs every single one of us. Now, I want to tell you something very interesting. There was a woman that all the women here certainly remember. Many of the men know her name. She lived not far from here. A very great lady who passed away about 2 years ago. Her name was Rebbitzin Esther Younggrace. And she was a very famous person. She spoke all over the world. She spoke in the White House. She spoke for Israeli soldiers. She started the Hineni organization. She was incredible. And I had the chus to know her because there were many times programs that we both spoke on the same program. And she told me something amazing. She said that when her husband died, she was very close to her husband, who lived right here in North Woodmere. And he was very quiet. She was more the public person. She was more the quiet person. He was more the quiet person. And she told me she always relied on him. She never did anything without his counsel, his advice, and his permission. And when he died, she thought, that's it. That's the end of the world. I can't exist anymore. But a few weeks after he died, her daughter, Mrs. Slavi Wolf, found an index card in one of his sefarim. And when she saw the card, she ran and showed it to her mother. And Rebbetzin Younggrace told me that when she saw that card, she was positive that her husband had written that card, that one day she should see it and she could go on with life. Now listen to what it said on that card, then I'll repeat it twice. A long life is not good enough, but a good life is long enough. A long life is not good enough. Just because somebody lives 80, 90, or 100 and they accomplish nothing, that's not good enough. But a good life is long enough. And you know what she wrote? After she read that, she wrote a book. And the name of the book is called Life is a Test. And it says like this: the goodness cannot be measured by the length of our years, but how we live those years. The goodness is not what we amass, but what we give. It's not about having more, but being more. For in the end, our lives are judged not by the businesses or the houses or the portfolios we built, but by the lives we touched and made better. And that's what we come in Elul for. Tonight, we begin to elevate ourselves by stopping to think about ourselves and think about others. Life is not what you do for yourself. Life is to take the talents that Hashem gave you in this world and see what you could do to enhance Klal Yisrael. What you can do for the other Jew, the brothers and sisters in Klal Yisrael who have less than you have. Not only materially, but spiritually. That's what Elul is all about. Elevating ourselves, how? By thinking of other people. Spiritually and materially, both ways. So I want to share with you some amazing story that happened at the funeral of a great rabbi. The great rabbi was the Sfas Emes. He was the second of the Gerer Rebbes. The first one was the Chidushi Harim. Now the Sfas Emes died. He was a young man. He was 58. And when he died, his grandson, of course, was at the funeral. His grandson would be the next Gerer Rebbe, the third one. He was called the Imrei Emes. And the Imrei Emes said to his younger brother, well, at least our father had Arichas Yomim. Arichas Yomim means length of days. So his brother, Rabbi Tzalel, said to him, what are you talking about? Our father had Arichas Yomim, length of days? He lived to be only 58 years old. That's not length of days. Listen to what the Imrei Emes said. He said, I didn't say that our father had Arichas Shonim, length of years. I said he had Arichas Yomim, length of days. Nobody here, and nobody who's going to watch this presentation, can guarantee for themselves Arichas Shonim, length of years. Nobody knows what tomorrow brings. But every one of us, every man, woman, and child in this holy base medrash, every man, woman, and child watching this presentation can guarantee for ourselves Arichas Yomim, length of days, making every day count. That's what Hashem wants from us. Whether we have length of years, that's His business. Whether we have length of days, that's our business. And that's what the Imrei Emes said about his grandfather, the Sfas Emes. He didn't say that he had Arichas Shonim. He said he had Arichas Yomim. Length of days. He made every day count. And I'll tell you something. When I first heard that, that was a great comfort to me. Because my own father died when he was 47. I was 21 at the time. And when you're 21, you think that 47 is an old man. But all of us here, past 47 and close to it, realize that 47 is still pretty young. Now, this young man over here, he thinks 47 is ancient, right? But all the rest of us, we know the truth, right? But then when I heard about that there's two differences. It's not a question of a long life. A long life is not good enough, but a good life is long enough. And my father had a good life. He accomplished a lot in those 47 years. So how do we do that? How can we do that? And I'll tell you exactly. What we have to do is each to bring out the best in ourselves. Every one of us here tonight has talent. Every one of us can accomplish great things, as I will show you. And every one of us, Hashem needs us. And when you bring out the best in yourself, that's Arichas Yomim. That's elevating Elul. That's elevating your life. When you bring out the purpose of why God brought you in this world. Now, I'll tell you something interesting. There was a mashgiach in the Mir Yeshiva. His name was Rabbi Yerucham Levovitz, a great, great tzaddik. And he once said something remarkable. He said, as important as it is for a person to know their faults, to know what they have to fix, it's more important to know your talents, to know what you could accomplish. Now, many times the Yetzer Hara tells us, you know, you're not good, you're not going to accomplish anything, you did so many bad things, you're hopeless. No. You have faults, we all have faults, you got to fix them. But the main thing is to know what you could accomplish, the talents that you have and what you could do with them. Now, in Klal Yisrael today, we have wonderful, wonderful songwriters. And one of the best is a fellow from Toronto. His name is A.B. Rottenberg. And A.B. Rottenberg, I happen to know him very well. I was his pircha leader. He grew up in Kew Gardens. So we've remained very, very friendly. And he recently wrote a song about Zachariah Wallerstein, Zecher Tzadik Livracha. And I'm telling you, it is impossible to listen to that song the way A.B. and Sholem Lemmer sing it without crying. And they talk about a butterfly, how a butterfly develops and how Zachariah developed and how he developed other people. But there's one line in that song that's worth the whole thing. You can fly and you can soar if you'll just open the door. You can fly and you can soar if you'll just open the door. And I'm going to show you now what it means when great people open the door. 3 years ago, I got a call on a Saturday night. It was a young couple on the phone, and they were very worried. And they said, Rabbi Krohn, we need chizuk. We're frightened. We need encouragement. And I said, what are you afraid of? What's going on? And the woman started talking, but then after a moment, she started crying. She couldn't talk anymore. And her husband continued. But the woman said, I'm expecting a baby in 2 weeks. So I said, so why are you crying? You should be so happy. What are you nervous about? That's the happiest moment in a woman's life, that she's able to give birth to a healthy child. And she started crying and she couldn't talk. And her husband said, Rabbi, last year my wife was also expecting. And we went into the hospital on Friday afternoon, and Friday night, the baby was born not alive, stillborn. The baby wasn't born alive. And we were so shocked. We couldn't believe it. The pregnancy was perfect. And the doctors were shocked. They couldn't believe it. How could that be? The whole pregnancy was perfect. How could this baby not be born alive? And we cried all night. We cried all night. We cried in the morning, Shabbat morning. And that's what we're nervous about. We don't want the same thing, chas v'shalom, should happen again. That's why we're asking you for chizuk and encouragement. And now I'm positive I'm not the only one that they called. I'm sure they must have called 10 rabbis besides me. But I said to them, I want to tell you what to do. And I'm telling you, if you follow what I tell you, you'll see in 2 weeks, the baby's going to be born and the baby is going to be healthy and everything's going to be wonderful. And I told them as follows. Now, I don't know if you have Sidurim in front of you, but you could write this down and you'll be able to look it up later. I told them, take out your Tehillim. And I want you to look at 2 chapters. Chapter 127 and chapter 128. Kuf Chav Zayin and Kuf Chav Ches. And then they opened their Tehillim and we read it together. And it says like this. Chichitzim biyad hagibor. Like arrows in the hand of a warrior. Kain b'nei hanurim. That's how children are. A warrior stands here, he shoots an arrow, it goes out far and it accomplishes far away what it's supposed to do. And that's what children are. You raise children here in this neighborhood, and then you send them out and they accomplish far away. And then I said, take a look at the next chapter, 128. It says, Eshtecha kegefen poriyah. Your wife will be like a fruitful vine, b'yarkasei beisecha, in the inner chambers of your home. Banecha, your children, tishasile zeisim, they will be like olive sprouts. Olive sprouts are fresh throughout the whole year. They'll be vibrant and encouraging and lebedik and lively, just like olives are fresh a whole year. That's what your kids are going to be. I said, I don't want you to tell anybody what I'm telling you, but I want both of you to say 127 and 128 every day, and you'll see the baby's going to be born, and it's going to be healthy, and everything's going to be fine. We hung up the phone. 2 weeks later, on a Saturday night, the guy calls. He says, Rabbi Krohn. In a second, I recognized his voice well. When he said Rabbi Krohn that way, I knew it was good. And I said, wow, what happened? He said, well, we get a mazel tov. We had a baby girl. Now, I'm a moel. I was going to tell him you should have had a boy, but I didn't. I controlled myself. But the point was, of course, I was so happy for him. And I gave him a baracha. And I told him he should have mazal. It should be the beginning of a large family. And I was just about to hang up the phone. And then he says, wait, Rabbi, I got to tell you something. I got to tell you a story that I didn't tell you 2 weeks ago when I called you the first time. I said, what's that? He said, remember I told you that the baby that was born not alive was born Friday night? And we cried all night. And Shabbat morning, we were still crying. But we were outside in Deal, New Jersey, in Long Branch. And I knew there was a synagogue on the block of the hospital. So I said to my wife, it's Shabbat. I think I should go to the synagogue to pray. And listen to this, he tells me. I came into the synagogue. By the time I came into synagogue, they were holding Kriyat HaTorah. They were reading the Torah. And just as I walked in, imagine this, I'm coming in from such sadness. I walk in, at the Torah, Yaakov Chweki, the famous singer, is getting on Aliyah Torah. He just had a baby girl and everybody is singing Simon Tov Mazel Tov. Could you imagine what I felt like? I walk in here so sad, and here, the nicest guy, everybody loves him, he had a baby girl, everybody's singing Simon Tov Mazel Tov. Of course, I went over to him like everybody else and I said Mazel Tov. And then they made him a big kiddush after the prayers, after Musaf. And during the kiddush, I went over to him, I said, Yaakov, can I speak to you privately after the kiddush? My wife wants I should ask you something. He said, of course. There's no question, don't worry. I'll be here. I'm not leaving until we speak. And sure enough, there was a big kiddush, everybody left, and he tells me, me and Yaakov, we were in the synagogue alone. And I said to him, he's telling me the story. I said to Yaakov, we had a terrible tragedy last night. The baby wasn't born alive. We want to cry. We need to cry. We got to get it out of our system. And we know that you sing a certain song so beautifully like nobody else. Mama Rachel cry. Could we come to your house tonight? We'll come straight from the hospital and just sing it for us, and we'll cry together. We just got to get it out of our system. And Yaakov says, of course, don't rush out of the hospital. I'll wait for you past midnight. Just come to my house. I'll be there for you. He says, Rabbi, you wouldn't believe it. We got there, it was close to midnight, and he sang the song for us, and we all cried. I want to read you one of the chorus lines, the refrain. Mama Rachel, cry for us again. Won't you shed a tear for your dear children? If you raise your sweet voice, now as then, the day will come. He said, not only did he sing that, he sang that beautiful song, Rachem. Rachem means, Hashem, have compassion that we lost the Beis HaMikdash. And he gave us CDs, and he gave us Chazaq, and he spent so much time with us. I said, I can't believe it. That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. And I was thinking, this guy, Yaakov Chweki, you know how much money he makes when he gives a concert? And he has a couple, he doesn't even know them. And he's taking his talent that God gave him, and he's giving it to this couple endlessly, without any questions. Incredible. Now, at that time, I was making recordings for a certain school here in Far Rockaway, Rabbi Groner's Yeshiva. They send out many recordings every day on Mishnayos, on Halacha, Hashkafa, and Chumash, whatever, Gemara. And they wanted that I should make recordings about stories of Chesed. So I figured this story is fabulous. A guy like Yaakov Chweki does a Chesed like this. I called him up. I said, Yaakov, you know, I would like to use this story as one of my Chesed recordings. And he says to me, Rabbi Krohn, please don't tell the story. I said, then why shouldn't I tell the story? He says, you know why I do all these things? I do it so I should get reward in the Olam HaEmet. After 120 years, I want to get reward. I'm afraid if you tell the story, I'm going to get less reward. I said to him, Yaakov, you're a bigger tzaddik than I thought you were. I said, I want to tell you something. Why do you do what you do? Because singers who came before you, older guys than you, like Mordechai Ben David, Avram Fried, and Shlomi Dax, they all do this. They all go to hospitals. They go to children's home that are challenged, and they sing for the parents. They sing for the kids. You learned it from them. If you let me tell the story, and you let me write the story, people will learn from you. You'll get much more reward in the Olam HaEmet. He said, Rabbi, you really believe that? I said, of course I believe it. He said, okay, fine, you can tell the story. But think about that. Think about that. Here is a person who brought out his best. Here is a person who has a talent. Of course, we don't have that talent, and we can't do what he does. But there's certain things that we can do that he can't do. And therefore, that's what Hashem wants. Take your talent and give it to other people. Bring out the best that you can. And you know something? You know how you bring out the best that you can? Never listen to anybody that tells you that you can't do something. Because if you listen to somebody who says you can't do something and you believe him, you won't do it. If you believe you could do it, you're going to do it. If somebody says there's no way that you could do it, then, I'm sorry. Thank you. Yeah, that's okay. If you listen to somebody who tells you you can't do it, you're not going to do it. Never listen to anybody who tells you that you can't do something. Now, I want to tell you a story, but first, I'm just curious to see how many people would recognize this name. Now, I know not all of you are from America, so you didn't grow up here, and certainly not from England, but I'm just curious by a raise of hands, how many people ever heard of the name Roger Bannister? Oh my gosh. Mr. Pfeffer, tell everybody, what did Roger Bannister do? Very good. Well, you can be proud. That's right. Roger Bannister, in 1954, May 6, 1954, he was the first one since Sheshis Yemei Bereshis that ran the mile in less than 4 minutes. Now, I believe in the Torah, Naphtali could probably run it, because the Torah tells us Naphtali could run fast. But otherwise, nobody ever ran the mile in less than 4 minutes. He did it in 3 minutes, 59.4 seconds, and the world went crazy. How could anybody run that fast? But I want you to fasten your seatbelts to listen to what I'm going to tell you now. That happened on May 6th, 1954. By May 6th, 1955, 37 people did it. How could they do it? Nobody did it since Sheshes Yemei Bereshis. He does it in May of 54, and in May of 55, 37 people did it. You know why? Because now people believe they could do it. And if you believe you could do it, you could do it. And if you believe you can't do it, you won't do it. And then, by the time 1956 came around, another 100 people did it. Because all of a sudden it became believable. And if you believe in yourself, there are three things you got to believe in. You have to believe in yourself, you have to believe in Hashem, you have to believe in Torah. I'm sure there are many people here who believe they can't finish us. But I'm telling you, you start one day at a time. Whether you learn a blot, whether you learn a Amid, whether you join Oraisa, there are many different programs. One day at a time. And you'll see you're going to do it. But you got to believe in yourself. I'll tell you a story that happened with me. When I was in the 9th grade, I went to Yeshiva Torah Vodas in Brooklyn. And we had a wonderful teacher, my favorite teacher. His name was Mr. Hyman Ozer. He taught us English literature. So, you know, PTA, the mothers come once a year. They come to the teachers to find out how wonderful or unwonderful their kids are. And my mother was sitting with Mr. Ozer, 9th grade. I'm 13 years old. I wasn't in the room when it happened. Mr. Ozer says to my mother, Mrs. Krohn, your son is a good writer, but he'll never write a book. So my mother was not planning that in the 9th grade that I would be writing a book, but she said, Mr. Ozer, why do you say my son won't write a book? Nah, he's too religious. Nobody's ever going to read what he writes. Fine. I guarantee you by the time the next parent came in, Mr. Ozer surely forgot what he said. My mother didn't forget. And certainly when she came home and she told me what he said, I didn't forget it either. And 25 years later, when the Maggid Speaks came out, my first book on Jewish short stories, I went looking for Mr. Ozer. I wanted to see if the guy's still alive. And I found out he was right here in Nassau County. He was the head of the English department in the Hafta High School. I called him up. I got his number. I said, Mr. Ozer, remember many years ago you taught in Torah Vodas in Brooklyn? Oh, yeah, sure. I had some good years there. I said, you know, I was one of your students. You remember my name, Paysach Krohn? He says, I think I do. I'm not sure. I said, you know something? I got a present for you. He says, 25 years later, you got a present for me? I said, yeah, when can I bring it? Well, you got a present. You can come tomorrow. Fine. I drive up to Hafta. You know where Beth Shalom is, right around there. I come in, the guy's sitting behind this big desk. And I say, Mr. Ozer, I want to show you something. I showed him our graduation book. He wrote us a letter. And I said, you know, I want to tell you a story. I know you're not going to believe this, but in the 9th grade, you told my mother that I would never write a book. I just want to show you. I just wrote a book, and it's printed by Art Scroll. It's got 95 short stories. I'd like to give it to you, and I'm going to autograph it to you. The guy went crazy. Could not believe it. Comes out of big desk, puts his arm around me, says, come with me. Takes me into one of the classes. He says, boys, I want to show you a former student of mine. He just wrote a book, and I taught him how to write. Let the guy think that he taught me how to write. But imagine if when I first sat down to write that book, and I would think to myself, this is crazy. I'm going to write a book? My favorite teacher said I can't write a book. I'll never write a book. If I would have listened to him, that would have been a catastrophe. All the books I've written wouldn't have happened. And all the speeches that happened because of the books, because people felt if the guy could write a story, maybe he could tell a story. And that's how it all started. And of course, every single book I've ever written, I always send it to him. He lives in Florida, and I autograph it. And we became very close friends from that story. And at his retirement dinner, I was the guest speaker, and I told that story. But in all seriousness, you can't believe anybody that tells you that you can't do anything. Hashem created you with talents. Think about it. That's what Elul is about. Take a walk by yourself and think, why am I special? What can I do that nobody else could do? What can I do well? How could I participate in the synagogue? How could I give a shiur? How could I go collect money for widows? How could I take a boy who's got a single mom who's not coming to shul because his dad is nowhere to be found? You know how many communities there are like that? Single mothers. And the kids don't go to shul because the mother's got to be home with the other babies. Think about that. What could you do to enhance a little boy's life who doesn't have a father for whatever reason, or doesn't have a mother? Think about that. That's what you are brought into this world. Not only for yourself, but to take the talent and the passion and the care and the heart that you have and to give it to other people. So I want to tell you another story. Just an amazing thing. An amazing thing. Many, many years ago, in Williamsburg, there was a man, his name was Herschel Weber. Herschel Weber was a Hasidic person, and he was learning in a kollel. And one day, he told me the story. Today, the man is in his 90s. But this story happened 50 years ago. He was coming down from the kollel. He was walking down the stairs on a street in Williamsburg, on Ross Street. And all of a sudden, he sees a guy walking on the side road, and the guy says, "Oh, yeah, I got a pain." And he falls on the ground. He said, I ran over to him, I tried to talk to him. He could hardly breathe. He obviously had a terrible heart attack. And I tried to call a doctor, I tried to call an ambulance, somebody. But I stayed by him and I watched him turn from white to red to blue, and he died right in front of my eyes. And then by the time he died, a few minutes later, the officers, the police came. And I heard one police officer say to the other, Herschel Weber tells me, if we would have got here 5 minutes earlier, we could have saved this guy's life. I felt so terrible, he said. He said, and I decided I'm going to learn first aid. I'm going to learn CPR. And I got two of my friends, a guy, Herschel Glantz and Yerlish Gantz and Herschel Kaff. And we all took first aid, we all learned CPR, and we got an oxygen tank. And then in Williamsburg, people would know if there was an emergency or something, just call Herschel Weber. And then he told me this story. He said one day, or one night, a woman, an 80-year-old woman, was sleeping. And when she woke up in the morning, she turned to her husband to talk to him, and he's not responding. And she moves him, and he's not responding. And she realizes, oh my gosh, I think he's dead. He may have died in his sleep. And she's pushing him, and he doesn't answer. She runs to the window. She's yelling, somebody help me. I think my husband died. And somebody, the voice carries in the morning, and people come running. They say, get Herschel Weber. Herschel Weber told me he came running with his oxygen tank. It was too late. The guy was dead five hours earlier. And then he was speaking to the widow. And then as he was walking out, he saw somebody. It's hard to believe this. But somebody said, do you see that guy, Herschel Weber? He's the one who killed him. And he was thinking, what is that guy crazy? Why did he say that about me? What do you mean? Now, he knew what the guy meant. He thought that maybe they called him because they thought he was a doctor because he had the oxygen tank and he tried to save him and he couldn't. But of course, that's not what happened. He tried to come to help in any which way, but the guy was dead a long time ago. He died a few hours before. But listen to what he did. He went to the Satmar Rebbe and he said, Rebbe, I believe it's time that we should have an organization that in case there's a medical emergency, that people should be able to call and get help. And the Rebbe said, take out a Shari Tshuva. Now, a Shari Tshuva was written by Rabbeinu Yonah, who lived in Spain. Now, for those of you who are taking notes or anybody who wants to look it up, Shari Tshuva, Shar Gimel, Ois Ayin Aleph. That's the third section, note 71. Listen to what the Satmar Rebbe told Herschel Weber. He said, listen, let's read this together. V'toi v'nochen ma'oid. It's very good. Liyos b'chol ir v'ir misnadvim ba'am. There should be volunteers. Menamaskilim, intelligent people. Liyos nechonim u'muzumonin. They should be ready and prepared. L'chol devar hatzola. For any sort of rescue. The Rebbe says, start the organization and call it Hatzalah. That's how Hatzalah started. One guy. What would happen if we were walking on Peninsula and tonight we saw a guy die? Oh, we'd have nightmares. We'd call all our friends, you know what happened, you know what I saw? And then 3 days we'd go back to normal. That's not what he did. He saw somebody died and he went and he took first aid. And he bought an oxygen tank. And God said, Herschel, you cared. I'm going to give you the merit. The merit of saving thousands of lives. Hatzalah started because one guy cared. We could all change the world. Every single one of us. Each one of us has great ideas, but we don't act on them. Because we think, who's going to listen to us? I want to show you something. Rabbi mentioned something very, very important about Chazaq. And I'm going to show you how every single one of us here has been affected by 2 public school kids. Do you know what Chazaq does? It's hard to believe. They take kids out of Goyish high schools, Jewish kids, and they bring them to yeshivot or Beis Yaakovs. And it doesn't have to be the highest level yeshiva or the highest level Beis Yaakov, but they bring him to a Jewish school. Let me tell you a story that happened years ago. There were 2 kids, Reuven and Shimon. That's their real names, Shimon Kol Yaakov and Reuven Kol Yaakov. They were in Forest Hills High School. They were in Forest Hills High School and just public school kids. And there's a wonderful organization called JET, Jewish Education Program. And what they do is that they come into the schools and they take the Jewish kids and they try to learn some Torah with them. So they found these 2 boys and they said, would you like to come out of class and you'll be able to hear some Torah, some religious education? And they said, nah, we're not interested. And then the guy said, no, we're serving pizza. Oh, pizza. Okay, good, I'll come. Fine. So they came. And whoever that rabbi was who taught that class, he should be blessed forever. Because I don't know what he taught them that day, but they decided, you know what, this is interesting. If they serve pizza next week, we're coming back. I mean, they weren't going to come back without the pizza, but that was important. And sure enough, they started coming. And then Shimon told me that it was so interesting that he brought a tape recorder, a cassette recorder, and he recorded what the rabbi was saying every week, and then he would listen to it because it was so inspirational. And then he started sending it to his friends. And then it occurred to him, hey, wait a second, why should I do it only with a cassette? Maybe I can video it. It's much more exciting if you see the person speaking than if you just hear it on audio. So he started bringing a little video camera and he started videoing what the rabbi was teaching. And then there was a Shabbaton. I was at the Shabbaton. I was one of the speakers. Zachariah Wallerstein, Olav Shalom, made that Shabbaton. And Shimon comes over to me and he says, Rabbi Krohn, I know that you speak a lot. Would you mind if I or one of my friends came and videoed you and we would send it out to a lot of our friends? I said, that's a great idea. He said, I have this idea. I want to send out videos of Torah all over the world. You think I could do it? People say it's impossible. I said, of course you could do it. And that's how TorahAnytime.com started. 2 public school kids. Public school kids. Do you know how many hours of Torah was learned last year by TorahAnytime.com? 12 million hours. This talk, which by tonight, Mayor Summers is going to get this by midnight, it's going to be transferred to all over the world. By 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, it'll be in Switzerland, in Chile, in Mexico, in Canada, in England, any place that Torah Anytime reaches. And if there are people who don't use the computer, they have a telephone number that you can attach to. 2 public school kids. Because they had a passion, they had a talent, and they changed the world. And every one of you can do the same thing. You're not going to start TorahAnytime.com. You do something else. And it doesn't have to be that you change the world. You could change your synagogue. You could change your community. You could change your friend. You could change yourself. But you got to think about it. You have to have the confidence in yourself. Believe in Hashem, believe in Torah, and believe in yourself. And that's what Elul is all about. Take a walk alone and think about what could you do? How could you change? How could you grow? How could you inspire other people? That's really what life is all about. And you know how you do it? You hang around good people. Don't hang around those people that are eating beef jerky with McAllen's. That's not what life is all about. That's not what life is all about. And do me a favor, I'm begging you. Don't go to those, I don't want to say what, kiddish clubs that they have before Musaf in the synagogue. It's embarrassing. How does a Jew go to a kiddish club and drink? And his kids are watching? What in the world do you think is going to happen to those kids? My dad can't even make it till after Musaf. He's got to get drunk. Or he's got to drink. Why does he have to drink? What kind of bizarre is that? The rabbis are afraid to throw those guys out of shul. But that's what should happen. They should not be there. You should be able to control yourself. A kiddish club is a disgrace for any synagogue. I don't care where it is, including this place. It's not a Jewish trait. Hang around good people. Hang around people that elevate you. Hang around people that will inspire you. And don't be afraid of failing. Rabbi Hutner once wrote a letter to a student who wrote him, Rebbe, I'm failing in so many things. And the Rebbe wrote back something so incredible. And he said, there's a mistaken identity, a mistaken tendency to focus on the great Jewish leaders as if they were born that way. It's not true. In doing so, we skip the years of struggle to become great, as if they emerged that way from birth. In English, there's an expression, you lose the battle, but you win the war. Surely, you will have failed and will fail again, but I assure you, you will emerge with the crown of victory in your hand. Of course, we're going to fail. And of course, you're going to have ideas. And maybe you could make up this year, I'm going to finish Chumash every week. I'm going to finish Chumash with the Rashi. It's not a big goal. You could do it. With the art scroll, you could do it. And you know something? Even if you make up to do just till Shlishi, if you never did it before, every week till Shlishi, men and women, take the art scroll. You can do it. We can all do it. We can all become great. We just have to believe in ourselves and continue doing it. I want to tell you one more thing. We'll review and end with a great story. There was a rabbi, his name was Rabbi Shlomo Freifeld. The Shar Yoshev Yeshiva that's here in Far Rockaway was started by him. His son-in-law, Rabbi Yeager, should have it for Shlema. He's the Rosh Yeshiva now. But Rabbi Freifeld once told this story. He said that he went as a young man to visit the Chazon Ish. The Chazon Ish was the Gadol Hador in the early 1950s. He said, I had so many questions to ask him. But when I came into his room, I was so intimidated, I couldn't talk. I couldn't open my mouth. But he said, the Chazon Ish spoke to me. And listen what the Chazon Ish said. The Chazon Ish said, I want you to know, young man, that many of the Gedolim, many of the great Torah scholars of previous generations, they were not geniuses. And he mentioned 3 names. The Nitziv, Rabbi Naftali Tzvi Yehuda Berlin, was not a genius, he said. Rabbi Yitzchok Elchanan Spector was not a genius. And he said the Ketzos HaHoshen was not a genius. But Rabbi Freifeld said, you don't have to be a genius to become a Gadol. And if you're taking notes, write down these 4 Ds that Rabbi Freifeld said you should do. And I'm telling you, when you do these 4 Ds, you will accomplish anything whether it's in learning, whether it's in purchasing a building, whether it's becoming wealthy, whether it's making sure you find a shidduch, you need these 4 Ds. Listen to these 4 Ds. Desire, dedication, drive, and determination. Desire, dedication, drive, and determination. I'm telling you, when you have these 4 Ds, you're going to do anything. There have been times, I'm embarrassed to admit it, sometimes it's 1 o'clock in the morning and I'm typing because I want to get a book out and I'm seeing double. But I know I got to get it done. And if I don't do it, nobody's going to do it for me. And so you go, you get a soda or whatever, you wash your eyes out, and you continue going. You don't give up. If you got these 4 Ds, you're going to accomplish what you want to accomplish. And that's what Rabbi Freifeld was teaching us. We come to Elul, we got to have those 4 Ds. We have to have that desire to change, the dedication to change, the drive and determination. You don't have to change your whole life. Take one aspect of your life. One aspect. From now on, I'm going to learn Chumash. From now on, I'm not going to curse. From now on, I'm not going to tell jokes that are off color, even though in the office they're telling them. From now on, I'm going to wear my kippah, even when I might be embarrassed to wear it. And if I don't wear my kippah, I'll wear a TorahAnytime.com hat, whatever. But I'll cover my head. I won't be embarrassed. I'll be proud of it. And you could do it. If you believe in yourself, you can do it. Emor ma'at v'aseh harbe. Emor ma'at means make small things, small kabbalot, small undertakings, and then you're going to do a lot of things. You're not going to change the world overnight. You're not going to change yourself overnight. Change little by little by little. And then eventually you become as great as you become. I just want to end just with this beautiful, beautiful story, just to show you how great we could become. I have a good friend who has a summer camp. The camp just closed. Obviously, it's the end of the summer. But this happened in the beginning of this year. He has had this summer camp. Let's call him Rabbi Becker. I can't say his name and the camp because maybe somebody figure out who the person is, and it's obviously not fair to say it. He has had this camp for 3 years before this year. Every year it was packed. 300 kids, packed to the rafters. So he decided that in January, he's going to send out an email to all the parents that had kids in the camp. Like this, they'll get first dibs. If they want to send their kids to the camp, they'll have the first right to do it. Fine. He filled up 250 spots. There were still 50 spots left over. Fine. He takes out an ad in a couple Jewish newspapers, and sure enough, within 2 weeks, the camp was filled. 2 weeks after all the spots are filled, the wealthiest woman, the richest lady who had sent her son all 3 years, calls this Rabbi Beck and says, I'd like to register my son. He says, man, all the spots are gone. I sent you an email. In the beginning, didn't you get the email? She said, yeah, my husband and I, we got the email, but we thought we were going to be in Israel this summer. So we decided, not to register, but now plans change and we'd like our son to come to your camp. He loved your camp. And Rabbi Becker told me, he said to her, look, ma'am, I feel terrible. You've been so loyal to me, but I can't renege on anybody who's signed up, either those who signed with the email or those who signed from the ad. But I promise you this, every year there are kids that cancel before the summer. The parents cancel for whatever reason. If anybody cancels, you'll be the first one that I'll give the spot. I'll call you right away. She said, okay, that's fair. 3 weeks later, a father calls up Rabbi Becker and says, we had a change of plans. We're not going to send our son to your camp. We're going someplace else. Fine. He calls this lady right away and he says, ma'am, I promise you, you'll be the first one that I call. And the spot is open. Do you want it? She says, yeah, of course. I'll send you the email right away. I'll send you the deposit and register my son. But then listen to what she said. Rabbi Becker said he never heard anything like this from all the parents. She said, Rabbi Becker, I just want to tell you something. I've been wealthy all my life. I always got whatever I wanted. And my parents also, because of their financial situation, always got We never had to wait for anyone or for anything. But these last 3 weeks, I suddenly began having feelings that I never had before. I was afraid maybe I would be rejected. I was afraid maybe I wouldn't get my son into the camp that I wanted. And I was afraid that I would be left out. I never had those feelings. And then it occurred to me, there are probably many, many people who have these feelings all the time. And they have to live with that. And that must be terrible. I never had that feeling. But now that I see what it is, I just want to tell you, if you have anybody in your camp that can't pay the full tuition, I will pay for it. Because now I feel their pain, which I didn't feel before. That's greatness. And that we could all do. Because we know so many people in pain in different ways. And that's what Elul is all about. Not only thinking about yourself, but thinking about those that have less. Beruchnius or begashmius. Spiritually and materially. And I think if we do that, then we could look back, whether it's echad la'oila ve'echad l'chatas, whether we had a good year or we had a difficult year, this is the year that we can go higher. Hashem should bench each and every one of us. We should fulfill our potential. We should look into our hearts, use our talents, be the best that we can be, and then it'll be anila dodi v'dodi li. As we come close to Hashem, Hashem will come close to us and bring us a Mashiach. And next year, Shari Emunah is going to be in Yerushalayim Kodesh, and we'll have the meeting there. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for listening.